Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens terrified after discovering Earth's dark secret. The Volter hegemony had conquered 17 star systems before they encountered Earth. Their strategy was always the same: observe, analyze weaknesses, and strike with overwhelming force. Extinction or servitude were the only options they offered. High Commander Jorvik stood before the great viewing panel aboard the command vessel Inevitable Conquest. His four eyes narrowed as he studied the small blue planet rotating slowly on the main display. The primitive civilization hadn't even established permanent bases beyond their own moon. Their communications were chaotic, unencrypted, and filled with contradictions. "Another barbaric world," he muttered, mandibles clicking with distaste. "Analyze their transmissions. How divided are they?" Science Officer Pulus approached with a data tablet. "Extremely fragmented, Commander. They have nearly 200 separate governing entities they call nations. They wage war against each other constantly. Their entertainment consists primarily of simulated violence and mating rituals." Jorvik made a dismissive gesture with his upper limb. "Standard primitive behavior. Send a reconnaissance drone to their largest population center. Protocol 7. Protocol 7 was simple: observe quietly, collect samples, retreat. No interaction, no contamination, just data gathering. The drone never reported back. This was unprecedented. Volter technology was self-destroying by design. If compromised, drones would disintegrate rather than provide evidence of alien contact. But the drone should have at least sent confirmation of arrival. "Launch 3 more drones, different locations," Jorvik ordered, irritation evident in his voice, "and increase stealth parameters." 3 more drones, 3 more silences. Now concern rippled through the command deck. The Volter had not faced a technical failure in 6 centuries of conquests. Their machines were perfect, their protocols flawless. "Perhaps atmospheric interference," suggested Tactical Officer Nev. "Impossible, our signals penetrate gas giants and neutron stars," replied Pulus. "Something is stopping them." Jorvik stalked to the tactical station, claws tapping impatiently. "Ridiculous, they haven't even achieved basic interplanetary travel. Scan their defensive capabilities." The scan revealed what they already knew: primitive missile systems, rudimentary satellites, nothing that could detect, let alone stop, Volter technology. "Launch a scout vessel," Jorvik finally decided. "Second Lieutenant Terrell, take a team of 5, full biological containment protocols. Land in an uninhabited region and gather direct intelligence." The scout vessel departed with Terrell, an experienced officer who had led reconnaissance on 12 previous conquest targets. It was considered a routine mission, almost beneath someone of his rank. 73 hours later, with no communication from Terrell's team, High Commander Jorvik faced the unthinkable: a second failure. "This makes no sense," he hissed during an emergency council meeting. "We've conquered species with defensive capabilities millennia beyond these humans." Admiral Kelties, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. "Perhaps we are approaching this incorrectly. These humans, what do our cultural analyses reveal?" Pulus called up a holographic display showing a montage of Earth's transmissions. Wars, sports competitions, dramatic narratives, news broadcasts, musical performances, a cacophony of human activity. "They are inconsistent," Pulus admitted. "They wage war while preaching peace. They destroy their environment while desperately trying to save it. They create art about fictional alien invasions while searching the stars for signs of life." "Contradictory behavior is common among primitive species," Jorvik dismissed. "Not at this scale," Kelties countered. "Look closer at their conflict patterns." The display shifted to historical battle footage. Humans fighting against overwhelming odds, small forces defeating larger ones, unexpected strategies and seemingly irrational decisions leading to victory. "They're adaptable," Kelties said quietly, "unpredictably so." "Adaptation doesn't explain vanishing reconnaissance teams," Jorvik snapped. "Doesn't it?" Kelties stood and approached the display. "What if their very unpredictability is their defense? What if they react in ways we cannot anticipate because they themselves don't follow logical patterns?" The command deck fell silent as the implication settled. The Volter hegemony's conquests had always relied on predicting behavior, exploiting logical responses to threats. if humans didn't follow expected patterns. Prepare a full invasion force, Jorvik finally decided. No more subtle approaches. We'll deploy 50,000 troops across their major population centers simultaneously. Even unpredictability fails against overwhelming force. The invasion fleet prepared, 17 ships carrying the elite of Volter military might, weapons that could level cities, soldiers engineered for combat in any environment, psychic suppressors to crush resistance. They approached Earth under complete stealth, positioning themselves strategically around the planet. The attack would be synchronized, giving humans no time to mount any meaningful defense. Commence invasion, Jorvik commanded. The fleet deployed. Drop ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, invisible to human detection systems. And then silence again. No reports from ground forces, no confirmation of landing, nothing but absolute impossible silence. 6 hours later, a single escape pod returned to the command vessel. Inside was Commander Triel, second in command of ground forces. His exoskeleton was cracked, limbs missing, green blood crusting around his breathing apparatus. They were waiting, he gasped before medical units could reach him. Not their militaries, just people with improvised weapons, knowing exactly where we would land, laughing as they fought. One human female, barely mature, broke through our psychic barriers like they weren't there. Impossible, Jorvik whispered. They knew us, Triel continued, his voice failing. They called us by name, they had countermeasures we've never seen. One human approached me wearing parts of our armor already, he said. Took you long enough to get here, we've been practicing. Triel's life support systems flatlined, leaving the command deck in stunned silence. High Commander Jorvik faced the most difficult decision of his career. The invasion force, the pride of the Volter hegemony, had been decimated by a pre-interstellar species that should have surrendered within hours. Retreat, he finally ordered, full withdrawal from this system. As the remaining ships pulled away from Earth, Jorvik added one final command. Mark this planet with quarantine status Omega. No approach authorized under any circumstances. In the vast database of the Volter hegemony, Earth became the third planet ever classified with the dreaded Omega designation. No explanation was provided in the public record, just a simple warning. Approach means death. The humans are not what they appear to be. The first encounter had failed, but the mystery of Earth was just beginning. 6 galactic cycles after the Volter retreat, the hegemony's humiliating failure had transformed into whispered legend. Despite official records being classified, rumors spread through trading outposts and neutral zones of the powerful Volter force that vanished against a primitive world. Director Nissa of the Cepheid Confederacy's Intelligence Division reviewed these rumors with growing fascination. Unlike the militaristic Volter, the Cepheids prided themselves on subtlety and information gathering. Where the Volter conquered, the Cepheids infiltrated. This Earth warrants investigation, she told her council. Not as a threat, but as a curiosity. How does a pre-warp civilization defeat an advanced invasion force? Her most skilled operative, infiltrator Benzel, stood before her desk, his chameleonic skin currently set to the neutral blue-gray of formal meetings. You understand this is likely a suicide mission, Nissa said, pushing a data crystal toward him. The Volter aren't easily defeated, whatever these humans possess. Benzel's skin rippled slightly, the equivalent of a dismissive shrug. The Volter lack subtlety, they approach everything with brute force. I won't make that mistake. We've prepared a biological overwrite that should give you human appearance and functionality, Nissa continued. Our linguists have decoded their primary languages. You'll be inserted into a mid-sized settlement called Portland with a complete identity package. Your mission is simple, observe and understand. What is their secret? How did they defeat the Volter? And if discovered, Benzel asked. Nissa's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of solemn acknowledgement. The mission self-terminates. 3 months later, Benzel's first encrypted report arrived through quantum channels. Initial integration successful. Human appearance maintained without detection. Physical form uncomfortable but functional. Local identity established as marketing consultant, allowing for social interaction without deep scrutiny. First observation, humans are perpetually distracted. Their attention spans are remarkably short. They consume information constantly but retain little. Most carry devices that connect to their global information network, which they check approximately 150 times daily. Second observation, they are paradoxically both communal and individualistic. They form intense social bonds while simultaneously celebrating rebellion against their own social structures. Most peculiar. No evidence yet of advanced defensive capabilities or awareness of extraterrestrial civilizations beyond theoretical discussion. Continuing observation. NISA found the report puzzling. It described precisely the kind of disorganized, unfocused species that should have fallen easily to Volter tactics. Where was the hidden power, the secret weapon? Benzel's next transmission arrived 2 weeks later. I have witnessed something disturbing. A local emergency occurred, structural collapse during a gathering. Instead of panic or paralysis, civilians self-organized instantly. Strangers coordinated rescue efforts with no central command. A female lifted a mass exceeding her anatomical capabilities. A male with no medical training performed complex emergency procedures guided only by communication with a distant expert. When authorities arrived, this spontaneous organization dissolved. The humans returned to their seemingly chaotic state. It was as if they become something greater in crisis, then forget this capacity immediately after. Theory, their adaptive state is not constant but triggered. They don't maintain readiness, they transform when necessary. More reports followed, each more perplexing than the last. They simulate disasters for entertainment. They create art about their own extinction. They imagine threats and prepare for them while ignoring actual dangers. Their fiction often depicts them defeating vastly superior invading forces through improbable means. One human child asked me today what I would do if aliens attacked. When I suggested reasonable submission to a superior force, she laughed and described how she would fight until the aliens wished they'd never heard of Earth. She was perhaps 9 years old. I attended a gathering where humans consumed mind-altering substances and spent hours discussing how they would survive various apocalyptic scenarios. Their plans were simultaneously ingenious and absurd. 6 months into the mission, Benzel's reports became increasingly philosophical. I believe I understand why the Volter failed. Humans don't react according to logical patterns because they themselves don't know how they'll react. Their chaotic nature isn't a weakness, it's a defensive adaptation. They constantly rehearse crisis through entertainment. They imagine countless scenarios of invasion, disaster, and extinction. When actual crisis occurs, they draw from this vast library of imagined responses. No algorithm could predict which strategy a human will deploy because they themselves don't know until the moment arrives. More concerning, they learn with remarkable speed. One exposure to a threat creates immediate countermeasures that spread through their population almost instinctively. If the Volter revealed any aspect of their technology or tactics. The transmission abruptly ended there. NISA immediately ordered emergency extraction protocols, but it was too late. Benzel's next and final message came 3 days later. They found me, not their authorities, ordinary citizens. A group calling themselves paranormal investigators detected energy fluctuations from my communications device. They didn't alert their government. They confronted me directly. I followed protocol, denied everything, prepared for self-termination. Then they offered me beers. They weren't afraid, they were excited. They had questions, endless questions about our civilization, technology, biology. When I refused to answer, they showed me their theories, thousands of speculations about extraterrestrial life, many disturbingly accurate. I understand now, humans don't just adapt to threats, they crave them. They seek out challenges. They're collectively addicted to overcoming impossible odds. They're keeping me in a dwelling, not as prisoner, as a guest. They've promised to help me experience Earth culture before deciding what to do next. Their government knows nothing. Most disturbing revelation, one showed me collected fragments from the Volter invasion. They've been studying reverse engineering, not officially, just curious individuals. Recommend immediate quarantine of Sol system. These humans aren't dangerous because they're advanced. They're dangerous because they imagine themselves to be capable of anything, and somehow this collective delusion manifests as reality. They're approaching, implementing final protocol. Knowledge is the only victory I can offer the Confederation. Stay away from. The transmission ended with the activation of Benzel's self-termination implant. NISA sealed the reports with the highest security classification and added her recommendation. Earth represents an unprecedented form of threat, not technological, not biological, but conceptual. They defeat superior forces not through strength, but through unpredictability and adaptive capacity. Most concerning, they appear to absorb and assimilate any technology they encounter. Each contact, no matter how brief, makes them stronger. Recommendation: establish exclusion zone around Sol system. No further contact. No observation. Leave them in isolation until they either destroy themselves or develop interstellar travel. At that point, they become a problem for the entire galactic community. The Cepheid Confederation heeded her warning. 100 stealth buoys were positioned at the edges of the Sol system, programmed for one purpose only: to warn away any approaching ships with a simple message. Danger, human containment zone, do not approach. But such warnings often serve only to increase curiosity, and the galaxy had many curious species indeed. The grand convocation of sentient species occurred once every 50 cycles. Representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations gathered at the neutral station Harmony to discuss matters affecting galactic stability. It was here, in the 73rd session, that Earth officially became a matter of interspecies concern. Ambassador Thuller of the Mendari Collective addressed the assembly, his bioluminescent patterns flashing with urgency. Esteemed representatives, I bring disturbing information regarding the quarantine zone in Sector 3721, the system containing the planet designated Earth. 3 of our research vessels have disappeared within the last cycle while maintaining position outside the established boundary. Murmurs spread through the vast chamber as various species communicated concern in their native methods. Chemical signals, light patterns, vibrational pulses, and spoken languages all translated through the chamber's sophisticated systems. The Volter refused to share their data beyond their initial warning, Thuller continued. The Cepheids have sealed their reports, yet ships continue to vanish. We require information if we are to protect our people. From the shadowed recesses of the chamber rose Xantu, the ancient representative of the Archivists, a species so old they had observed the rise and fall of dozens of galactic civilizations. The chamber fell silent as she glided to the central podium, her translucent body housing swirling constellations of living data. I will speak of Earth, her voice resonated, carrying the harmonics that indicated accessing deep historical records, though I do so with reluctance. The assembly leaned forward collectively. The archivists rarely shared their knowledge freely. Earth is not new to our records. We have observed their development for millennia as we do all evolving sentience. They appeared unremarkable until recently, violent, creative, contradictory, as are many young species. But in the last century, something changed. The central display activated, showing Earth from orbit. They split the atom, reached their moon, networked their minds, and manipulated their own genome, all within a single century. No other species in our records has compressed so many developmental stages into such a brief period. It defies evolutionary patterns. Is that why the Volter failed? Asked a representative from the Alux Federation. The Volter failed because they approached humans as they would any other conquest, Xantu replied. They did not understand what they faced. Humans are individually unremarkable but collectively transformative. They become more than themselves in the presence of challenges. She gestured and the display shifted to show various human activities. Children playing games, adults competing in sports, crowds at entertainment venues. They spend significant energy simulating conflict. Their recreation, their entertainment, even their education involves constant rehearsal of crisis scenarios. They prepare for catastrophes that haven't happened. They imagine threats that don't exist. So when actual threats materialize, began Thuller. They have already experienced them countless times in simulation, finished Xantu. More concerningly, they adapt through failure. Each unsuccessful approach teaches them new defenses. The Volter attempt did not just fail, it inoculated humans against similar tactics. A small, insectoid representative from the Vreen hive clusters clicked forward. Yet they remain primitive by our standards. They have not achieved faster-than-light travel or unified planetary governance. Your assessment demonstrates the exact error in understanding humans, Xantu replied. They advance differently. Not linearly, not collectively, but in unexpected bursts driven by individual innovation and crisis response. She changed the display again, showing human war footage interspersed with scenes of humanitarian aid, scientific breakthroughs, and artistic performances. They can be simultaneously primitive and advanced. Some humans still fight with primitive projectile weapons while others manipulate quantum states. Some organize in tribal structures while others build global networks. This inconsistency is not a developmental phase, it is their natural state. The chamber erupted in debate, various species arguing about proper protocols for dealing with such an anomalous civilization. Finally, General Vrax of the Chronos Military Confederation slammed his armored appendage against the speaking platform. Enough theoretical discussion. The Chronos lost a stealth observer 3 cycles ago. Before it went dark, it transmitted this. The display changed to show grainy footage of Earth's moon. In one of the large craters was something impossible, a structure that hadn't been there in previous observations. A base of some kind, but unlike typical human architecture. This facility appeared after the Volter encounter, Vrax continued. Our analysis indicates it contains technology far beyond current human capabilities. Impossible, said Thuller. They show no evidence of such advancement in their transmissions. Unless, Xantu interjected, they are deliberately concealing their progress. The implication sent ripples of alarm through the assembly. The idea that humans might be aware of the wider galactic community and deliberately presenting a primitive facade was disturbing. I propose a coordinated approach, said Ambassador Elara of the Diplomatic Corps. Not military, not isolated observation, but open contact. Reveal ourselves, invite them to join galactic society under supervision. Catastrophic suggestion, countered Vrax. If they are indeed as adaptable as described, giving them access to interstellar knowledge would accelerate their development unpredictably. Yet continued isolation creates its own risks, Elara argued. They're already detecting our presence. Unguided contact could be worse than managed introduction. The debate raged for days until finally the convocation reached a compromise. A specialized contact mission would be assembled, combining diplomatic, scientific, and defensive expertise. They would approach Earth openly but with extensive precautions. The mission comprised 9 specialists from different species, aboard the vessel Enlightened Exchange. Their approach was careful, broadcasting peaceful intentions on frequencies humans were known to monitor. No response came. When they reached lunar orbit, the mysterious base was gone, as if it had never existed. They proceeded toward Earth, maintaining transparent communications. Still nothing. Finally, as they established orbit around the blue planet, a single audio transmission reached them, not from any official human authority, but on an amateur frequency used by civilian enthusiasts. Hey space friends, we've been waiting, want to join our podcast? We've got like a million questions. The mission's diplomatic lead, Elara herself, cautiously responded, following established first contact protocols with precise, measured language explaining their peaceful mission representing the galactic community. The response was immediate and baffling. Cool, give us 20 minutes, we're ordering pizza. You guys eat pizza, right? Probably not. We got vegan options though, just in case. The formal first contact between humanity and the galactic community, an event that should have been conducted with solemn ceremony between governmental representatives, instead became an impromptu cultural exchange with 5 university students who hosted a speculative science podcast. The students showed no fear, no reverence, not even particular surprise. They asked questions about galactic politics, compared the visitors to characters from entertainment media, took selfies with the delegates, and live-streamed the entire encounter to millions of followers before any government could intervene. By the time Earth's authorities arrived, the damage was done. Humanity's first impression on the galactic stage wasn't of a unified, mature civilization ready for interstellar relations. It was of chaotic, enthusiastic individuals treating cosmic first contact as a social media event. The mission returned to the convocation with disturbing conclusions. Earth could not be approached with standard protocols because Earth wasn't a standard civilization. It wasn't a unified entity at all, it was billions of individuals, each potentially capable of independent action, unpredictable responses, and adaptive innovation. In her final report to the convocation, Ambassador Elara wrote words that would change galactic policy forever. Humanity's dark secret isn't advanced technology or hidden power, It's that they don't behave as sentient species should. They don't follow evolutionary patterns. They don't develop in predictable stages. Each human is a potential disruption to any system they encounter. Most concerning of all, they don't fear what they don't understand, they desire it. Where other species respond to the unknown with caution, humans respond with fascination. They don't want to learn about the galaxy to find their place within it. They want to reshape it according to their endless imaginations. The quarantine must continue, not to protect humanity from us, but to protect the established galactic order from them. The Galactic Convocation voted overwhelmingly to maintain and strengthen the Earth exclusion zone. Advanced cloaking and deterrent systems were deployed throughout the Sol system. Official records were altered to mark the region as a natural hazard zone. But rumors continued to spread, and the mysterious fate of the Volter invasion force became the stuff of legend. Despite the quarantine, unofficial expeditions still vanished into Earth's vicinity, drawn by curiosity and the tantalizing question, what makes humans so different? The answer would soon become clear, and it would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. On the planet Dremales, in a facility buried beneath 40 levels of security, curator Lon sat alone studying the contraband Earth artifact. The small rectangular device had been recovered from the wreckage of an unauthorized expedition to the quarantine zone, the sole piece of technology that survived the ship's destruction upon return. The device was primitive, a human smartphone from their early information age. Most alien analysis had dismissed it as functionally worthless, containing only entertainment applications and personal data from its human owner. But Lon had noticed something extraordinary hidden in its programming, something that explained everything about humanity's inexplicable defense capabilities. The proof was there in the device's memory, thousands of simulations, games where humans practiced fighting alien invasions, entertainment where they imagined surviving apocalyptic scenarios, stories where ordinary humans developed extraordinary abilities when faced with overwhelming threats. They've been preparing, Lon whispered to himself, mandibles clicking with growing horror as he scrolled through the device's contents. Not their governments, not their militaries. Every individual human constantly rehearsing crisis scenarios through what they call entertainment. His research expanded beyond the device, assembling data from every failed contact attempt, every observation, every transmission intercepted from Earth. A pattern emerged, one that defied conventional understanding of species development. He composed his findings in a sealed report titled The Human Anomaly, Collective Crisis Adaptation Through Imaginative Rehearsal. It was immediately classified and restricted to the highest levels of the Galactic Security Council. Within days, Lon was summoned to the Council's emergency session, held in a chamber so secure that quantum scanners verified each attendee's identity at the molecular level. The 7 High Counselors, representing the oldest and most powerful civilizations, sat in ominous silence as Lon presented his findings. Esteemed counselors, I believe I've identified humanity's unique defensive capability, and it is unlike anything we've encountered in any species throughout our recorded history. He displayed data comparing human development patterns against the standard evolutionary model, followed by all known sentient species. Every spacefaring civilization follows predictable advancement patterns, tribal structures evolve into unified governance, technology develops in logical progression, species identity solidifies around shared values. This pattern has held true across 4,273 documented civilizations. Humans violate every stage of this model. They maintain contradictory governance systems simultaneously. Their technology develops in chaotic bursts rather than logical progression. They celebrate individual deviation from collective norms. High Counselor Zenith leaned forward, her crystalline form catching the light. This is known, Curator. The question is how this chaotic development enables them to defeat technologically superior forces. Lon nodded, switching the display to show human entertainment media. Movies about alien invasions, games simulating apocalyptic survival, literature exploring first contact scenarios. Humans spend approximately 33.7% of their conscious time engaged in imaginative simulation. They call it entertainment, but it functions as continuous crisis preparation. Each human, from early development, mentally rehearses thousands of potential threat scenarios, including those they have never encountered. More importantly, they share these simulations. When one human imagines a defense against an alien capability, millions of others absorb that strategy through their entertainment networks. When the Volter invaded, humans didn't encounter that specific threat for the first time. They had already fought similar invasions countless times in their collective imagination. Their responses weren't coordinated through central command, but through shared cultural understanding of how such threats should be countered. The council chamber remained silent as the implications settled. It wasn't advanced technology that made humans dangerous. It was their relationship with imagination itself. There's more, Lon continued, his voice dropping. I believe humans are potentially aware of this capacity, not consciously perhaps, but instinctively. Their popular entertainment consistently features scenarios where they defeat vastly superior forces through unpredictable strategies. He displayed clips from human media, ordinary characters finding unlikely solutions to overwhelming threats, improvising with available resources, succeeding against impossible odds. They are rehearsing not just specific scenarios but the very concept of adaptation itself. And they're doing it constantly, collectively, across their entire population. High Counselor Drox, eldest of the seven, spoke for the first time. You're suggesting their entertainment isn't merely cultural expression but an evolutionary adaptation, a species-wide defense mechanism. Precisely, Lon affirmed. Most species develop defensive capabilities externally, weapons, shields, alliances. Humans have developed an internal defense, the collective capacity to imagine and therefore prepare for any possible threat. This is unprecedented, whispered Counselor Tellum. How do we defend against a species that inherently prepares for any strategy we might employ? Lon's next revelation silenced the chamber completely. The lunar base that briefly appeared during the convocation investigation, I found references to it in the human device's entertainment applications. It was a fictional creation from something called a sci-fi series broadcast years before our observation. The base never physically existed. You mean, began Counselor Zenith. Our observers saw what humans had imagined, Lon confirmed. Somehow, human imagination affected our perception. Their collective belief created a phantom that our instruments detected as real. The implications were staggering. If human imagination could project physical-seeming manifestations detectable by advanced technology, what other capabilities might they unknowingly possess? The quarantine has been focused in the wrong direction, Lon concluded. We've been containing them physically while their real influence, their imagination, is already spreading through stolen technology, intercepted transmissions, and cultural artifacts like this device. Every contact increases this effect. Each encounter with their thought patterns changes us, makes us begin thinking like them, questioning, adapting, imagining alternatives to established patterns. High Counselor Drox rose slowly, his ancient form casting a long shadow. What you describe is not a species. It is a conceptual virus, a mimetic contagion that infects other sentients with its pattern of chaotic innovation. Yes, Lon agreed. And we have no defense against it because our civilizations are built on stability, consistency, and predictable advancement, the very qualities humans instinctively subvert. The Council deliberated for 3 days before reaching their decision. The Earth quarantine would be strengthened beyond any previous measure. Not just physical barriers but information containment protocols. Human transmissions would be scrambled, their cultural artifacts destroyed, their very existence expunged from accessible records. Earth would become not just quarantined but mythological, a rumored danger, a cautionary tale rather than a documented civilization. As the new protocols were implemented, a final observer was dispatched, not to approach Earth but to monitor from the outer boundaries of the Sol system. They transmitted a single, disturbing report before the information blackout was complete. Humans are changing more rapidly than our models predicted. Their global information network has accelerated their imaginative capabilities exponentially. They're producing and consuming crisis simulations at unprecedented rates. Most concerning development, they've begun collectively imagining breaking their isolation. Their entertainment increasingly features scenarios where they discover interstellar travel, encounter galactic civilizations, and, most alarmingly, overcome attempts to contain them. If our theory is correct, that their collective imagination manifests reality through mechanisms we don't understand, then the quarantine itself is now driving them toward the very breakthrough we fear most. They are no longer just adapting to threats. They are adapting to the concept of cosmic isolation itself, and they're doing what humans always do when confronted with limitations. They're imagining ways to overcome them. The report ended with a recommendation that would forever change galactic policy toward emerging civilizations. Earth cannot be contained because containment itself fuels their adaptive capability. The only viable strategy is distance, complete withdrawal from their region of space. No observation, no interference, no contact whatsoever. Earth's dark secret isn't technology or hidden power. It's that humans are what all sentient species fear most. A life form that evolves in response to challenges not through genetic adaptation over generations, but through immediate cognitive remodeling at both individual and collective levels. They don't just adapt to their environment, they force their environment to adapt to their imagination. As the galactic community retreated from the Sol system, abandoning monitoring stations and defense perimeters, they left behind nothing but empty space, and a species whose greatest strength was filling empty spaces with possibilities. Decades passed. Earth continued its chaotic development, unaware of the cosmic quarantine being lifted not through their victory but through the galaxy's surrender. And in observatories across Earth, human astronomers began noting strange readings. Entire regions of space showing unusual radiation patterns, as if someone had very thoroughly erased their presence. In research labs, theoretical physicists proposed new models of faster-than-light travel based on intuitive leaps they couldn't fully explain. In entertainment studios, writers created ever more elaborate stories of humanity's triumphant emergence onto the galactic stage, stories consumed by billions, embedding the concept deeper into collective consciousness. The cycle continued, imagination feeding reality, reality inspiring imagination, and the stars waited for what humans would become when they finally reached them. Because Earth's true dark secret, the one that terrified the galaxy into retreat, wasn't about humanity's past or present. It was about their future. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.